Hey guys, it's Jenny Williams here, senior pastor at Central, and we're here for another week of It's Not Complicated. I'm here with my co-hosts.
Is that the name of our show? It's Not Complicated. I love that. I knew this, right? I did. I just forgot. Hi, it's lunchtime. I'm hungry. I'm Reverend Chase, the executive pastor at Central.
I'm Virginia Brown, the college pastor and Wesley director here at Central.
We're excited to dive into the Bible week 2 of our reading, the Bible year. And just a reminder for those who have sensitive ears or in the car with people with sensitive ears, be mindful. We are talking about Bible topics, which are not always for the faint of heart, but we will handle them with as much grace as we can. That's good. Last time we talked, I think we got we were so excited about Abraham
We got
and
excited.
Isaac and Rebecca. I mean, no, not Rebecca, not till later. Sarah and Hagar, that we kind of muddied the timeline, but we are in Genesis chapter 21. And Abraham is 100 years old.
Yikes.
It's a good birthday.
It is. Yeah. And then
What's the longest person the person that you know that's lived the longest? I think my great grandmother. Yeah, my great grandmother was like 98 years old.
My great grandma was around that as well.
I had a couple of Centennial Church members, but my grandmother was 96 when she died.
Nice. Good genes.
Did any of them
here.
have like kids
Yeah,
around that
right
age?
before she died, she had a baby.
My great grandma had 12 children, but much before.
before.
Yeah,
90.
she was in her 90s.
Children though, and she still lived that long.
She did, yeah.
The Lord be with her.
Yeah, and also with
you.
her.
Yeah,
Oh,
just with her.
Just
She
with
needs
her.
it.
Yes.
She needs it.
Anyway, so he's 100. That means Sarah is roughly 90 or 91, and they have a baby. They named their son Isaac, Itzhak in Hebrew. I think I said that last time, so you're welcome. And that name means roughly, God has given me laughter.
But who's laughing? Is it Abraham or is it Isaac?
No, I think it's Sarah. Also,
Sarah.
God.
Okay, yeah.
God. I think
Okay.
God's laughing.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
I was gonna say Abraham was not laughing when he was chasing around a toddler at 103.
maybe not.
Yeah, no.
But, you wrote that.
I did, right? That's my script.
Nice.
That's so good. Anyway, so Isaac is born, and Ishmael is roughly like 14-ish.
Yeah, he's an early teen.
And so the dynamics in the family really get a lot better after Isaac is born. No, there's no jealousy anymore.
Not at all. Everything's
The
perfect.
dysfunction just kind of dissipates.
Yeah, and then we don't hear anything more about it.
I don't think that's false.
Is that not what the Bible says?
Oh,
That's
what?
not what the Bible says.
Okay. That's right. So Ishmael on Isaac's weaning party. So they have a weaning party, which I think is fun.
Hilarious.
I will say they seem to have a party for everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Good for them. At his weaning party, Ishmael is caught laughing. That's all. And Sarah assumes that this means that he's laughing at Isaac. for some reason.
Okay. Yeah.
And so she gets mad again and sends Ishmael and Hagar away.
Right.
And
It's
this
messed
is
up.
we talked about this story a little bit last time, but this
Yes.
is actually when the angel comes and saves them.
Right.
And then we know that Ishmael has his own lineage through Abraham. So
Correct.
anyway, so then so geographically, Abraham is in Philistine territory.
Mhm.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting
Mm-hmm.
because these Philistines, they won't go away.
No.
We know that for later. But they settle there. Ishmael and Hagar are out of the picture, at least for now.
Mm-hmm.
And Isaac's just growing up. He's probably, 10, 12 when this happens? When in Genesis 23?
Yes.
22, 23?
When
Almost an adult.
when his dad is like, you know what? Let's go on a hike.
It's the weirdest story.
It is so
bizarre.
ever.
You know what?
It's a hard story. And it's funny because this is one of those stories that is lifted up as look at how faithful Abraham
Exactly.
is.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I mean, I'm like, can you imagine? If God said that to me, I don't know what I would do. I actually, now that I have 2 kids, I do know what I would do.
Okay, what's that?
It would not
Be that.
No.
Not do it. Yeah, that part.
Yeah.
But also, I've never thought the story from the son's perspective.
Exactly.
Dad, what's going on?
Yeah, because Isaac wasn't a baby. So Abraham has this. It feels like he receives a message from God. It says, "Get up and take your son, your only son," emphasized only son, which is not true, also. But anyway, and go and sacrifice him as a burnt offering.
Right. Yikes.
And so Abraham, it says immediately the next day he gets up and goes. And he packs up Isaac and he takes some servants with him and they head on the way. I wonder what they said to Sarah on the way out.
I mean, because
We'll be
they
back.
know what goes on,
Some of
like
us
with the
see you
material.
later.
Like if I was going on a fishing trip, I'd grab a pole and I'd grab my tackle box and I would load up the truck. So they're loading up the donkey with all the things that it takes to what?
Yeah.
To do a sacrifice. And surely they're like, what's
What
up?
What did the servants think when
I
like
wonder
all
if
of this
that's
was
why
happening?
He left him behind.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
halfway up the mountain, he's like, "Yeah, you guys stay here. Isaac and I will go on." And then at this point, Isaac says, "Father, where is the lamb?" Like Isaac knows what they're going there for.
Yeah.
He wants to know where the lamb is. They didn't take one.
That's interesting. Like, is this like a wink to what's to come? Like in scripture?
Say more about that.
That was a question. Question mark. Like, this is the first time that we've had lamb as far as part of a sacrifice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is really interesting to me because I read something a long time ago, but it's kind of stuck with me. That this is the first reference to a literal lamb in sacrifice in our scripture. And then the first reference to lamb in the New Testament is when John the Baptist sees Jesus coming far off while he's out in the wilderness. And he says, "Behold the lamb."
It's a great Raybold song. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Daddy, what have we seen here today? Da 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 da.
No.
So I told them of Moses and Father Abraham, and I said, "Dear children, watch the lamb." Y'all haven't heard that? It's like
No,
27
I have
minutes
not.
long.
Oh,
Can't sing
yeah,
with
no,
you, but
pass.
I have. But anyway, so so in the old, so we have this reference with Isaac. Where is the lamb? And Abraham says to him, "The Lord will see to it." And we know that in this story, that's true. But then also in the New Testament, John the Baptist says, "Behold the lamb," and it's Jesus, and he is the one, the lamb that would take away the sins of the world. It's very neat.
Nice.
Yes.
So we know that an angel of God or the messenger of God intervenes. Isaac is not sacrificed. He is bound, placed on the altar. But as he lifts the dagger, I mean, the drama in this story.
Oh, I mean, so much.
The dagger is lifted, and the
And
angel's
there's a
like,
pause.
whoa,
Is there a
whoa.
pause? Like,
I mean,
da,
surely.
da, da,
And I'm doing it, Lord.
Really, I am.
This
For
time
real.
I'm serious. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And they find a ram in the thicket. A ram.
So
in the
convenient.
thicket.
So have you ever seen like a ram like stuck? They're not quiet. So how would you not see this before? Like over there just
The Lord closed the ram's mouth and then opened it up. No, I
Oh,
don't know.
this
Oh,
has been making
this
the
is
noise
it?
the whole time. This right? Oh, okay. Duh.
Oh my God. I think, this story is hard. I do think in some ways we can lift up Abraham's faithfulness and frankly Isaac's for that matter, because we know that he was old enough to have argued or run away and he did not. But I think the ultimate the interpretation that I've heard that I resonate with the most is that there were so many deities at the time, all different flavors, every tribe, every nation, every people group had their own god, and that god had its own requirements, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times in this era, it was human sacrifice, in particular child sacrifice. That was not uncommon. And I like to think that this is God's way of saying, not only is human child sacrifice not my way, it's never my way.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's sort of how I come to this text, and then also that God provides a way out, and
Yeah. And then there's like a twist in the family dynamics right after that.
Yeah.
Sarah died.
Yeah. She
lived. It said she lived to be 127. This was how long she lived, and she's buried with the Hittites.
That's all we get. Is that all we get?
That's all we get. And then we're like, let's move on to Genesis 24, which means it's time for Isaac to get married. Enough is enough.
Oh, yay.
Isaac. Get out of the basement. Quit watching The Price is Right every day. Is that what
I think so.
people
I think
who
that's
live too long in their parents' houses do? I don't know.
what would they have done back then, though?
I don't know.
That's too broad of a question,
It
Virginia.
is,
Let's
yeah.
focus.
Sorry, I was reading the Bible. What was the
God.
focus? Did y'all see this part though? Like when Abraham was old and like the thing that he did, Abraham said to his servant, the oldest of his house, who had charge of all that he had. So his servant had charge of all he had. Put your hand under my thigh, and I will
Whoa.
make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and earth, that you will not get a wife for my son from the daughters of Canaanites, among whom I live, but will go to my country and to my kindred and get a wife for my son Isaac. And so the wife was sent for. So
Yeah, I mean, he's like, go back to my wife's brother's house and get my son.
that's a little that's
I mean,
stronger
we
than
know-
a pinky
we can,
swear.
We can draw the lines there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so they go. Abraham sends a servant so that Isaac doesn't have to marry a Canaanite, and he gets to the well, and the servant's
The
camels
well.
are thirsty.
I love going to the well.
I mean, now here's something that I found out in the last few years, which just blew my mind. But there are so many stories in the Old Testament where a man and a woman, or a man's servant and a woman, meet at a well. And what AJ Levine is the one that opened my eyes to this, Dr. AJ Levine. And what she says is that anytime you hear of a man and a woman meeting at a well, this is the beginning of a rom-com. Like something's gonna happen. They bumped into each other at the bookstore or at the coffee shop or at the local,
Very early
cocktail bar.
biblical history,
That's
like
probably
bar.
the corniest
They're at-
pickup lines.
yeah.
Like, hey,
My camels are thirsty.
I came here to draw water, but drew me to you.
Oh no.
I'm glad he said stuff. I
Speaking of thirsty,
kept what I was going to say inside.
you're a thirst trap. Do people say that? So anyway, so they find this woman named Rebecca.
Yes.
Lo and behold, Rebecca is related to Sarah.
Wait,
Again, Game
Right?
of Thrones,
Think
like
so.
Targaryen stuff. There's some cousin
Or either
marrying
Sarah
in
or
here.
Abraham. Basically, she's a cousin. Rebecca's a cousin. And there's a whole scene at her house where she does this really bold thing and says, I will go with them. Even though the man is supposed to leave his family and go with the wife, she says, I will go back with Abraham's servant to marry Isaac. And it's just like, I am choosing this.
Yes,
Is
queen.
she? I don't know.
I mean,
but
that's true.
I'm here for it.
Right.
Anytime we can get some sort of like ownership in women's lives and
Go for it.
I'm glad for it. So anyway, so she goes back, she marries Isaac. Abraham, love this storyline, remarries.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, he finds
love after
again.
120. I don't know.
is
My
he?
gosh.
Her name is Keturah.
Ooh, I love that
and
name.
he has more children, you all.
Oh.
I did not know this.
No. And they had some interesting names, right? Or do we know their names?
I think they did. I didn't write them down.
Oh, nice.
They might
Okay.
not have. They might have been interesting, but not
Can
that
we
interesting.
sing about it? Father
Right.
Abraham
Yeah,
had
exactly.
many sons
True.
from multiple wives. That's not
That's
how
not part
that's
of
not
that.
They
in
left
there.
that part out.
And he died. Oh, Abraham gave everything he owned to Isaac, so that is fun for Ishmael and his other sons.
Right.
Not a problem.
Messed up.
And then he dies at 175. And it was just like an interesting little note that Isaac and Ishmael buried him and together. And I just thought
That's nice.
it never occurred to me that Ishmael and Abraham might have continued a relationship. And I
Even
wondered-
after he was sent away.
Yeah.
So then we move on to Genesis 25 and next generation, like done with Abraham and Sarah. Let's go to the Bible, the next generation. There's
We're in verse 19, I think, here, right?
that's right. Yeah. And Rebecca is pregnant.
What?
And she has two babies at war in her womb. It says 2 nations. And she finally gives birth. We have Esau and Jacob. They are twins. They are fraternal. The first case of fraternal twins. I don't know if that's true. And Esau is named Esau because it means hair, and he was
He's
hairy.
very
That will play an
hairy.
important role in the story later.
Yes.
And Jacob is named Jacob, which means heel or usurper or loosely trickster. So just a really
Ooh.
adoring name for him. Esau is a dude's dude, and he is Isaac's favorite. Just can't, like an old outdoorsman hunter type. Literally, I think he embodies that. And then Jacob is loved by his mother. He's the favorite
Aw.
of his mother.
Of course.
This is the best story ever.
Yeah, will you tell it, Chase? I love hearing you tell it.
Do you?
This is my first time, but I'm sure
I'm sure we will love it.
Once upon a time. So Esau was like a skillful hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a quiet person living in the tents or in their households, right? And so one day Jacob was cooking a stew, just stirring it all up, and Esau came in from the field and he was famished. And Esau said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of that red stuff, for I am famished." Evidently it was red, so medium. And then Jacob said, "First, sell me your birthright." And Esau said, "I'm about to die." That's a little dramatic. Oh my God,
dramatic.
I'm so starving.
Well, that's what I want to know. What's it to do? I mean, it sounds ridiculous. Go on.
Like, how long was he hunting? Like serious, but he's like, die. And what use is a birthright to me if I die? And so he's like, "Swear to me first, and you can have some of this soup. It's to die for." And then,
how bad was his hunting party though? Like, it must have been.
I don't know, but the thing is, evidently he wasn't successful either, because if he was that hungry, he'd just have sushi. Jacob gave to Esau bread, but here's the thing: Jacob what was it? Carpaccio. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and litten stew, and then he ate and drank and rose and went his way. And so Esau just kind of gave
stew
it
is what you just said.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out lentil stew.
What did I say?
Lenten
I like
stew.
Well,
Lenten
dyslexia is fun.
No, I was just thinking like they were already
Lenten?
celebrating Lent.
Yeah, of
They were
course.
so like pretty.
They had
You
it.
should make a Lenten stew this year, Chase.
Yeah, so that happened. I just wondered, did Esau think Jacob was like joking that he wouldn't hold him to it? Or do you think
But it's not his choice, though. It's right. It's
don't
not
know.
like he can say, "Oh yeah, I give away my birthright,"
Yeah, I don't know how that
but who
works.
gives the birthright?
I don't know. I know the blessing of the birthright and the blessing are two different things for
Okay.
some reason, but I don't know why.
Right.
But so the blessing was given by Isaac. I actually do think maybe the birthright was his to give because it was his inheritance.
Yeah, he was firstborn.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. So that happened, and at some point that was a bad deal, but they leave it at that.
Mm.
And then Esau gets married. His wives are Hittites. Their names are Judith and Basmath, and like Rebecca hates them.
Yes.
I mean, in-laws, So Isaac, it says they caused trouble for Isaac and Rebecca. This will come up again, but without any explanation. So, and then everything gets better, and the brothers live in harmony.
Exactly.
that
That
what you
is
all
still
have in your
false. No, I think
What?
that's wrong. No, there's got to be a little bit more drama.
There's definitely conflict.
True.
This is building up. It's going to be good.
So
Mhm.
this is like Genesis 26, 27-ish, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Jacob, so here's the deal. At some point, Rebecca feels like she hears from God that Jacob will be the one to carry on Isaac's lineage and name. And she's going to make this happen. And I do love this. Like, I always resonate with the people who help God, right?
Right.
Like, God, let
this
me
cannot
help
get
you.
done unless, yeah.
And so she's like, I'll handle this. Isaac's old. He is blind. Just nothing. And he's about to, I guess he's like always in bed. Did you feel like he's always in bed?
She's like the grandparents from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's where Abraham is right now.
And Jacob's going to
Or
get that
she's
golden
Nietzsche.
ticket.
Yes.
He is. And so Esau goes out hunting because is he ever not hunting?
Mhm.
And Rebecca sends in Jacob. But what does she do?
She's a crafty queen. She's like, listen, I've got some fur. Your brother's really hairy. Let's put it on
That's
your
messed
arms,
up.
and your father will never figure it out.
I mean,
And didn't.
he didn't.
And he didn't.
Jacob gets in there and he's like, you sound like Jacob, but you feel like Esau.
Yeah. And he was like, you know what? I would recognize those hairy arms anywhere. You must be my oldest son.
He's like, I have a cold, Dad.
Wow.
So bad.
So Isaac blesses Jacob, and Esau comes back, and he is livid.
Mhm.
And he's like, bless me too, Father. And Isaac's like, fresh out a blessing. Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
He gets a secondary blessing. It's a nothing. It's a
so sad.
Figurehead, a placeholder. It doesn't mean anything.
You can't even get mad at Isaac. Like he was just an old man.
Can you though?
Okay, you can. Sorry.
So
my
Esau
goodness.
threatens to kill Jacob, and it reminded me. I mean, we have these dueling brothers, and this is just a story from echoing down history already.
Right.
We've
Yeah.
got Cain and Abel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We've got Isaac and Ishmael. Now we've got Jacob and Esau. And they're like, this stops with us. No, it doesn't. Rebecca still hates the Hittite women. The Bible wants us to know. It does not want us to know why.
Right. Couple times.
So, Jacob is sent away. Isaac's mad. Jacob needs a wife. It's time. He goes to his uncle Laban's house to
Mhm.
find a non-Canaanite wife, because that's the deal. That's really why Rebecca hates Esau's wives, because they're Canaanite Hittites.
Well, and then Esau tries to like get back into good graces. I guess I don't know why he's out of good graces, but then he gets another wife,
Mhm.
right? The daughter of Ishmael. Did it work?
I don't think so. I don't think so. A daughter of Ishmael, by the way. Like, that's funny to me. I don't know.
Oh,
Dead
So-
silence.
It's not funny to anybody else. So, Genesis 28, Jacob is on his way to his uncle's house, and he goes and lays down to sleep. I'm not sure. He puts a stone near his head. This was interesting. And then he has this crazy dream. And
it's like
the
for
dream-
protection or something.
I'm not
like
sure. Was it like a crystal stone? I don't know.
I know.
Like, he's like, I'm just really into crystals these days.
He likes
You know
he likes
what?
the firm pillow, so it's just like, oh,
That's
this
what I
this
thought.
stone feels
No
great.
wonder he had a weird dream. He had a crick in his neck.
Yeah, that's awful.
He probably had some pizza rolls right before bed.
He had
too.
some bad lentil soup.
So he is, and in this dream, God reiterates the promise to Abraham that Jacob's descendants will inhabit the land and become numerous. And then I actually really love this. I'm reading the CEB version for my read through, and it literally says this in Genesis 28:16. Jacob says, "The Lord is definitely in this place, but I didn't know it."
Oh, I like
The
that.
Lord is definitely
Yes.
in this place, but I didn't know it.
Like
And
in his dream?
I
or
think in
just-
that literal place.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like the geographical region. And I just thought, how many times do we go into a space thinking like this is godless and nothing
Yeah.
Oh,
good,
yeah.
Right.
or I feel abandoned, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden God shows up in these amazing ways, and we realize the Lord was in this place. Even though we didn't know
Absolutely.
it.
Mm.
So he names the place Bethel, which means God's house, and he makes a covenant with God to continue. Like, if God provides protection, Jacob will continue to tithe and follow him. So, and
Aw.
guess what happens next?
Oh
What?
no.
Jacob goes to a well.
Oh. Something about to go down.
Again.
Yeah. And yeah, what's gonna happen? So he meets Rachel,
Aw.
and on first meeting, he kissed her and cried.
Wait a second. What? I mean, coffee first or something?
Oh,
or
that's
just
so
like,
To be
dramatic.
honest, I
hello?
would be like too much too
Yeah.
soon.
Whoa, sir. Step back.
lots of affection and emotion. This is a lot going on.
A lot. He's very happy that he found her, and he goes to his uncle and is like, I will do whatever I can to marry Rachel. And his uncle's like, no problem, just work for me for 7 years.
And maybe, and
Yeah. So he's like, all right, fair deal. So he does. And then after the 7 years, he goes to get married, and they get married, and I guess like they wake up the next morning, veils are off,
mm-hmm.
and it's not Rachel.
Ooh, scandalous. Like,
I just feel so
oops.
bad for
Sorry.
I
Leah.
do too.
But again, how did he not know? Like, you
Oh,
is it the same story? Like, oh, you sound like Jacob, but I don't. You have hairy arms.
Was everyone blind?
I mean, what's going on here? When we said,
Her
no,
arms
no,
are
like
hairy.
I say,
I recognize those arms anyway.
I'm just saying, like when they did the vows, it's like, ooh, you kind of sound like the person I've been seeing, but
They do veil,
or
like,
not the
in
person-
Jewish
like,
ceremonies,
You sound
they
like
do veil.
Leah, but you
I don't
must
know,
be
like,
Rachel.
He is married to Leah, and
Yeah.
Leah either has beautiful eyes or bad eyesight. Those are the two interpretations.
There we go. Yes.
Rachel is a fine looking woman. I mean, it goes on
Absolutely.
and on about
Right.
her appearance. I don't love that.
And who she doesn't like.
Right. No, that's Rebecca.
No, that's Rebecca. You're right. Goodness.
I know. There's
so many
a lot
names.
of names.
Oh my goodness.
But Leah has either beautiful eyes or weak eyesight. Either way, poor Leah.
I know.
Jacob is unimpressed. He does not love her. He's very angry at Laban, and he's like, "I wanted Rachel," and Laban's like, "Fine, if you want Rachel, you can work another 7 years for me." And so Jacob's like, "Fine."
That is commitment. Though.
I don't want to be married to her, but I'm gonna have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Well, and I think if I read the story, the way I read the story, he did work 7 years to marry Rachel / Leah. But the second time, he's like, didn't he marry him first and then continue working for 7 years?
I don't know.
I'm really not sure.
I'm not either.
But anyway, so that works out. And well, it doesn't work out. It actually works out pretty poorly for everyone. Except for the people of Israel who get a family, which is good. That's great. That's kind of the point. So Leah is unloved, but she can have babies.
She can,
which is a
very
big perk to an ancient Israelite woman.
That was like the one thing you were supposed to do as a woman. That was it.
And Rachel didn't do it.
Rachel couldn't do it. She could not have those babies, but Leah could. She had Reuben, Simeon, and Levi back to back. And this always gets me. Every single time a baby is born, she says, "Now my husband will love me."
That's messed up.
Next child.
Well,
now my husband
I say that's messed up, but how many of us have done that? Like, if I do this, then this will be the outcome. Yeah.
We have been struggling with this forever as humans.
So then finally, her fourth son is born, Judah. And she doesn't say, "Now, this time my husband will love me." She says, "This time I will praise the Lord."
That part.
And I think that's sort of this heartbreaking and powerful moment of her saying, "I cannot place my self-worth in someone else's eyes. I can only place my self-worth in God's eyes." That's what I read into it anyway. So
I like it.
But then Rachel is so jealous. So jealous. In fact, at some point she says to Jacob, "Give me children or else I die." And Jacob's like, "I'm doing my best." And maybe we cut that part out.
I'm trying.
That's not too bad. That's not too bad. I mean, it was we're reading. I mean, there are already multiple people.
And so she's like, "Jacob, give me children or else I die." And Jacob's like, and she's like, here, take my maidservant Bilhah.
This has worked before, right? With Moses.
Yeah.
No,
not Moses. Abraham. The other one.
If they have
the
the baby by I'm guessing the servant, do they still love him like their own, or they adopt them into like?
I think the father loves them like their own. I'm not sure about the mother, but I do know when this happens, a lot of times the mother will get behind the servant while she's delivering the baby, and like so that it's like a transmission of I don't know.
Is this the bit with the mandrakes? Are we in 30 yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, sorry.
Well, it is around this time. Yes, I think you're right. Because we're between Genesis 28 and 30 right now. So Leah has stopped having kids, maybe because she just had 4 in 5 minutes.
Right.
And so she gives her maidservant Zilpah to Jacob, and they have 2 more kids. So this is 4 sons by Leah, 4 sons by the 2 maidservants. And then Leah has Issachar, Zebulun, and Dinah. Those are her children, and she's done.
Right.
She has 6 sons and a daughter. Rachel finally has a child, Joseph. And Joseph immediately becomes the favorite child.
Of course.
Naturally. In the book that we're reading, the Bible Year, Reverend DeVega says this. He summed it up so well. Jacob is tricked by his uncle. He marries 2 of his cousins. He has 12 sons by them and 2 servants. His wives hate each other, and he steals from his uncle. And that's how we get the 12 tribes of Israel. Yet, despite this family's many flaws, God chooses to work among them.
Okay.
I mean, at least it makes us feel a little bit better that like sometimes our families aren't always perfect and there's dysfunction. I mean, there's a lot of dysfunction.
There's a lot going on in here.
So much.
Truly, I'm like, I don't think we're doing that bad, to be honest.
No, you know what? Like, my life's not that bad.
No. So then we move on to Genesis 31.
Day 12.
So Jacob has been with Laban for a while now. There's a whole thing about Laban not paying Jacob enough flocks. So Jacob does this whole like dyes the wool thing but he makes it appear like it's a God thing. I'm not really sure. The story is really strange. But needless to say, Laban's sons are mad at Jacob because he's taken a lot of what would be their inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
So Jacob's like, it's time to leave. He feels cheated by Laban, but he's also done some cheating himself. And remember, his name is Trickster.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's getting tricked. He's moving on. They leave under the cover of night. And so during that, though, Rachel steals Laban's divine statues and hides them under her saddle.
What's a divine statue?
Well, and I read some stuff on this. I'm not sure. It could have been either artifacts for God or also just like idols.
Okay.
Because remember, they're Canaanite. They live in Canaanite territory.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is why the law and the prophets keep going back to please don't do idolatry.
Right.
Because they slipped into it so easily because it was just so prevalent.
Yeah, all the time.
But either way, no, not sure what that's about. But she hides them under the saddle, and I'll just, I'll let you read that for you. I just thought, why include this? What a strange story.
So bizarre.
So, they make a treaty. Laban comes to find his statues. He can't find them, but they make a treaty so that apparently everything in the Bible can be fixed with a treaty.
Mm-hmm.
And everything gets better. Kind of. And then after this, Jacob's traveling around with his family. We find out that Esau is coming out to meet him. This is the same Esau, remember, that Jacob ran away from because he wanted to kill him.
Now, has he wrestled with God yet?
No, this is happening right
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on the way out, Jacob is preparing for the worst. He sends out like hundreds of animals, she-goats and he-goats and other
words.
things, depending on what version you're reading.
Right.
And so he sends them ahead because he wants to bribe his brother. He's like sending him out to get some good favor. And then he has the night.
Which I find fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Jacob obviously has this wrestling match with a divine being, God, an angel, who knows.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets a limp from it, and he walks with a limp for the rest of his life.
And the Israelites to this day won't eat. The scripture said that they won't eat the hip.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when's the last time, I've had a good, it's like tough. It's like chewing on
but
like
we
a
eat
chicken
like
bone.
pork butt, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it means is like.
Oh, I thought it was like the socket.
Yeah.
I'm like the socket, like with the tendons.
Rump
like,
roast. Thank you for the correction.
No, I mean, pork butt is also a thing. I don't know if they're even the same thing.
It is.
So a couple things that I think are interesting about this story. Jacob is in his 80s here.
Mm-hmm.
So this was not like I always think this is probably not a physical wrestling match. This is like a wrestling of the wills.
Could have been, yeah.
Also, some people say it was a river demon that he wrestled with.
A what?
A river demon.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I thought that was kind
did
of
the river water become a figure that he wrestled
Have
with?
you seen Frozen 2?
Okay, yes.
Oh my
Or
gosh.
did he just trip walking across a river and he was like, guys,
This river demon got
this
me.
river demon got me. I fell on the
Which makes sense. Like
I don't know. That's a great point.
water and underneath the water was a scary place. I mean, it's like the
true.
equivalent of
No,
Sheol.
you're
So
right.
it's kind of like what's under there? The darkness.
Some people say it was Esau's guardian angel.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just telling
Alrighty.
you. I personally think it's a battle of the wills that Jacob had always done his own will kind of
Mhm.
before God's will, but God had chosen him to be the father of all of the chosen people, Israel, right?
Yeah, and so because of all this, though, Jacob gets a new name,
Yeah.
right? Which is
Israel. Which,
yeah,
you know what that means.
go for it.
It says, one who struggles with God.
Oh, yes.
Did you know that, though?
Yeah, you put it in
I'm
quotes.
sure I'd heard that at one point. but
yeah.
Isn't that so true of Israel forever?
Yes.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean,
Of
forever.
course, my favorite scene is when Jacob and Esau eventually do meet. Esau runs out, hugs him, and forgives him. All this worked up in his mind and his heart that Jacob got, and Esau forgives him.
That's so nice.
And they make peace, but they really don't interact again until their dad dies.
Right.
So I always think that's a comment on both the importance of forgiveness, no matter
But also boundaries.
boundaries.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You can forgive someone without continuing to be in relationship
that
with them.
part.
Absolutely.
And then I would like, Virginia, For you to talk
geez.
about Genesis 34, the story of Dinah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. You got this.
Do I? So Dinah is Leah's daughter, the less fortunate of the wives, I guess. I don't know.
The only girl.
The only girl, yeah. And Dinah had a bunch of brothers. And then it talks about how much he loved the young woman as he spoke to the woman's heart. And then it says, take me, this girl, as a wife to Jacob, I assume? No. So Dinah, there's something that people aren't agreeing with. Every male, of course, has to be circumcised if they're not circumcised, and their possessions, like their livestock and their cattle, will not be theirs. Wait, that's not it, is it?
Basically. So
Yeah.
So Dinah and Shechem get into some sort of like shameful arrangement.
Right.
Whether it was assault or whether it was consensual, but they were not married, so it would have been
Then Jacob
super
finds
duper
out.
illegal either way. Yeah, so Jacob and the brothers find out, and they're mad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so they plot their revenge, and this is the most just savage revenge I've ever heard.
Right. And so
that's what you were talking about.
Yeah. And then they're all like circumcised. And so they're obviously in a very vulnerable state when
assume.
then they go in, everybody's hurting, and then they kill every male.
Right.
Obviously her brothers were very upset for what happened to her. And, because these men defiled their sister and they thought that this was the best option, which I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard story.
Right. Very difficult.
So Genesis 35.
Yeah. Yikes.
So
And wait, there's a whole like Dinah in the kitchen, right? Song.
someone's in the kitchen with Dinah, but I've been working on the railroad. I think
I
that's
know,
a
but
different
like,
Dinah.
but could it be back like a nod to the story because Dinah was there by herself, but someone's in there, like the bad guys.
But they're strumming on the old banjo.
That's true. Maybe she was also a very accomplished banjo player. And I'm done. Okay. Oh, good gravy.
So yeah, Genesis 35.
A lot.
Jacob's final son is born to Rachel, his favorite wife, who dies in childbirth. Which this is just like a terribly sad story. And she tries to name him with her final breath. She names him Ben-Oni. But then after she dies, Jacob's like, I'm going to change it.
You know what?
That wasn't good enough.
Which made me mad until I figured out what the names meant. So Ben-Oni means my suffering.
Oh, yikes.
But Benjamin means my strong son. So okay, fair.
Okay, yeah, we'll give it to him.
And then Isaac dies, Grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
He's buried by Jacob and Esau. And then Genesis 36 ends with Esau's family list. And frankly, like I didn't read it.
It's pretty boring.
So I'm sorry.
We're on day 13.
Okay.
Genesis 37 through 41. It's kind of a big chunk here.
Yeah, it is. This kind of covers. So we're transitioning away from Isaac. Isaac's really he's the one that doesn't really get a lot of main character stuff. It's really all about his dad and his sons.
Yeah.
And then Jacob takes the lead here. And he has this huge dysfunctional family.
Got a favorite son, got a favorite wife.
Who was his favorite son?
It was Joseph.
Joseph.
Yeah.
And Joseph was a younger one, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
There were
he
like
was
many older
second to
sons.
last.
Yeah.
Mhm. But he was the firstborn of his favorite wife. I guess that's what.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
And Joseph was kind of a brat, right?
Absolutely.
He was
early
a
on.
snitch.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
He would spy on his brothers while they were. I did not have siblings, but this dynamic feels like
It's
Yeah.
true.
he
Yeah,
was
it's
asking
real.
for
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Snitches
I
get
mean, we don't
stitches.
blame
Yeah.
the victim. But
He
Absolutely.
was just a little, I mean, like you have all of these cool older brothers and then you're this entitled son of the favorite. And so you're going to be a little bit of a turd.
Yeah.
Excuse my language, but that's what he was.
for sure.
Yes.
I think the Bible says that.
Yeah. It's in there.
And thus, Joseph was a turd.
yes.
And so Jacob was like, he saw that the dynamics were off and he's like, I'll balance this out. So he gives Joseph a special coat.
You know what?
Let me help
Let's
you.
make this
Let me help
worse.
you.
Let's give him something else they'll
And
be
it's
jealous about.
Possibly colorful or possibly long. The translation's a little weird. We've always heard colorful because then you get the coat of many colors.
Well, which was interesting because we all three went to Israel last year and we kind of saw the land. And there's not a lot of colors. There's colors that mean some like certain things, but those who were nomadic, like there wasn't a lot of dyeing going on, like dyes and colors.
So there were probably no purples in it just yet.
Maybe not. That's like royalty and
Right. But I think it's interesting. I want it to be like sparkles.
Absolutely, like fabulous. It's rhinestone.
Yeah. So, and then that was just basically like dropping a bomb into the brothers. Like the brothers, in case it hadn't been obvious before that Joseph was the favorite, now they're just mad about it. And they're like, and then Joseph's like, I know this will make them feel better. This isn't their fault. This is God's fault. And Joseph's like, I've been having these dreams, guys. And, these dreams say like, I'm it. And y'all are going to bow down to me.
Can you imagine, like, I remember watching that cartoon as a kid, and like Joseph's like this little guy, and it's like, hey, guess what?
Yeah. Like I'm the king. So sorry, guys. So sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
I don't know if you'll need to cut out what I'm about to say, but like obviously, mental health and diagnosis weren't a thing. Like, could he have been like maybe
a narcissist?
A narcissist, yeah, or just
Joseph.
Yeah.
If he was not diagnosed, I do think he had some narcissistic traits.
Absolutely.
Although what 17-year-old doesn't?
That's true.
He was about 17 when all this started to go down.
His self, yeah.
And he had a colorful coat.
He did. I mean, he had a lot of things going for him.
Spoilt rotten.
So the brothers are like, we'll show him dreams. And they threw him in a pit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, because they wanted to kill him, but Reuben was like, I feel like you're taking it a little far, guys.
First of all, I love Reuben, the sandwich, and Reuben, this guy. Because like, he's like, y'all, he was an advocate. Yeah. Although he was part of.
He was like, let's be reasonable. Let's throw him in a pit to die.
Right. Let's not do it. Oh.
So they throws him, and then Reuben leaves. I don't know where he went. But while he's gone, Judah is like, look, it's really bad to kill our brother.
Yeah.
But, look, there's some Ishmaelites. This is just wild. Ishmaelites. And they're heading on down to Egypt, and we'll sell Joseph to them as a slave.
Yeah.
That's better.
In scripture, so it says, and they took Joseph's tunic and slaughtered a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Goat.
Kid is a goat.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm going, oh my gosh, they just killed someone different. No, the goat. Cool.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Because they put blood on it and took it back. And they're like,
oh
my gosh.
Oh no.
What happened?
And Jacob thinks that Joseph's dead, and it's really heart-wrenching for him.
Yeah.
They're just constantly trying to trick one another into like all the stories.
Yeah. And then we have this interlude with a story of Judah and Tamar. Virginia.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know the story.
I do. And I should have done a refresher. Where's it at in the scripture?
That is in 38.
Ew. Oh, it was right there.
Did you ever watch Rocky and Bullwinkle? Like they would have multiple stories going on at one time. The narrator goes, and meanwhile, it's like a whole other story, like pivot.
Yes.
I do wonder in the timeline, like when this happens. Had to have been later, I would think, but maybe not that much later than when they
Joseph was in Egypt.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to go with what I hopefully remember. Tamar was not a woman of the night.
No.
But
she was married to Judah's son.
Yes.
His oldest son,
right. And she was like, we've got to do something that's a little bit sneaky.
Yeah. Hang on.
We're not there yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
So we've got Judah and Tamar, this whole little story. And Tamar is married to Judah's oldest son. But it says that was immoral, so God put him to death.
Yeah, and then that's it.
That's it. That's all we
got.
And
then there was a second one, right?
Yeah, Onan.
And then Onan just died.
Onan also.
He
Onan
did something
was
else.
immoral because he didn't want to father his brother's baby. So
That's right.
he just made that not possible.
Mhm.
And God was like, nope. And
Yeah.
So,
And
smote him,
then,
if you will.
right.
And then, so there's a third son,
Yes.
Shayla, which is like also if you said Sheila in
Shayla.
Australia.
Shayla.
Right? No.
Oh my
Okay.
And so, well, I'm totally, so Shayla isn't quite old enough to get married, but that's okay because in levirate marriage, which is what we're talking about, the woman could wait for the youngest son to be old enough.
What's
That's
the age?
right.
Weren't you like
And
an adult at
so-
12?
Yeah, but I don't think you got married as a man until after 17, 18.
Mm.
Yeah. And so is this the point where she's like, well, I've got to have a kid. And then
Yes.
she dresses up. So she tricks their father, Judah, and
Her
is like,
father-in-law.
okay. And then they, of course, conceive a child. He doesn't realize that it is.
She poses as a prostitute on the side of the
Right.
road
Yes.
while he's traveling. And he,
doesn't she ask for like a sigil or like something that
Cord.
a cord?
cord, seal, and staff.
Yeah. And so she has them, right?
Mhm.
And then eventually, like, she is showing because she's pregnant and she goes to him and is like, hey, I'm going to have this child with you. And he's like, no, you're not. I'm going to put you to death. And she's
I'm gonna
like,
burn you.
I'm going to burn you. Right. And she's like, you know what? I got receipts.
Mhm.
And she shows him.
She said the results are in.
The results
You
are the father.
father.
Exactly. Yes.
Jerry.
Oh my goodness. And yeah, so she turns in her receipts and he's like, oh, okay, I've actually made a mistake.
And she has twins,
Mm-hmm.
Perez and Zerah.
Great names.
Yeah.
And when she shows up with her receipts, Judah says, this is pretty powerful. She is more righteous than I.
Hmm.
That's a huge thing for
Mhm.
him to say.
And we'll want to remember the name Tamar when we get to the Gospels.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The last stories in Genesis are of Joseph in Egypt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got Joseph actually, despite being sold into slavery at 17, things are going really well. He's landed in Potiphar's house.
Mm-hmm.
Potiphar was one of the governors of Egypt, and he really trusts Joseph. Joseph gets to be like head of the household besides Potiphar. But again, Joseph is his mother's son in that he's good looking. Like the Bible really is obsessed with Joseph and his attractiveness.
It says what? He's well built.
And handsome.
Yeah. He has Riz. Is that
Oh
what?
my God.
Can we say that?
Can we? Yeah.
He's got Riz.
And so Potiphar's wife has noticed there's a new man in the house, and she tries to seduce him, but Joseph's like, no means no, thank you, ma'am. And Potiphar's wife is real mad at this. And so she grabs his cloak during one of these interactions, and she uses it to lie to her husband and get Joseph thrown in prison. So, not going great. So this was bad. But then Joseph gets into prison, and he's still Curry's favor there.
Yeah.
People love him. The prison guard puts him second in command again.
Mm.
So
He did have Riz.
He did.
Yeah.
Like legit. So anyway, so then in the prison, the dreamer begins to dream again.
And he the dreamer's dreaming.
Well, first he starts to interpret dreams for other people. We have the cupbearer and the cake bearer or something like that. And they both have a dream, and Joseph interprets them accurately.
How is this not seen as witchcraft?
Because it's God. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, back then, though, everything could have been seen as, well, like it is now. It's sometimes.
Because you have these two dynamics, like you have these dreams, and then you also have visions, like you saw, and
Right.
that later on that kind of goes with the prophets, which is kind of neat because you have the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom of Israel, and one of them sees visions, and the other one dreams, which I thought was interesting. So right now that hasn't like transitioned to be a split thing.
Yeah.
But here's another dream.
Yeah.
No hard rock though.
Right. So he interprets these dreams accurately, and he's like, don't forget about me. And they're like, okay. And they
Bye.
do. They do forget about him until a couple years later when the king starts having weird dreams, the Pharaoh. And these dreams are like
Are these the skinny cow ones and the fat cow?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's 7 healthy cows, 7 sick cows, and they come out of the Nile, and the sick cows eat the healthy cows.
Right. Yikes.
And then immediately afterwards, he has a dream that there are 7 stalks of grain, healthy ones, and 7 sickly grains stalks.
Mm-hmm.
And the sickly ones somehow eat up the other ones. And this is a big deal. Like, the Pharaoh cannot get a wink of sleep after this.
Yeah.
So he calls in people and they're like, help me understand it. And the one guy is like, oh, I know a guy who can interpret dreams. So he gets Joseph and brings him back. And Joseph's like, look, here's what I'm giving. This is giving for me. And this is that there will be 7 good years of prosperity and growth and agricultural wellness. And then there will be 7 years of famine. And so what I'm recommending, Joseph says, is that you appoint someone to kind of who's wise,
Yeah.
right? Who's clever.
I wonder who it should be.
Ooh.
Wink,
Wink.
and then they can help you.
Mm.
And Pharaoh's like, I think I'll appoint you. And Joseph, becomes second in command of
Again.
all of Egypt.
Yeah.
Knock him down and he just gets back up.
He does.
So, and then his brothers come to Egypt because why?
Well, it's the 7 bad years, so
Yeah.
they're hungry.
Mhm.
They're hungry. The famine spread further than just Egypt. It went into Canaan. And so they heard, though, that Egypt had all these reserves from storing up in the 7 good years.
Hmm.
So the 10 brothers go, but of course, Benjamin stays behind because new favorite.
Mhm.
Of course, Joseph recognizes them. They don't recognize him. Do you think this was because of all the years, or do you think he had like an Egyptian?
Oh,
like,
I think he was
vibe?
like, we can tell that he loved himself. He had the fancy coat when he was younger. So he's probably like adorned
True.
where they have no clue.
Fair. And so he captures them, but he's like, I'll let all of you go except for one if you bring back your younger brother. This is so like bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
So he keeps Simeon. They go back. They finally convince Jacob to let them like come on or bring Benjamin back.
Yes.
And when he gets back, he's like, fine, I'll let Simeon go. Here's all this food. Go on, go back home. But he hides these like fancy cups in
Mhm.
Benjamin's sack. His like his carry-on bag, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so then he sends guards out to like say you've stolen from
God,
the king.
just the worst. Come
Who
on,
you
guys.
are. Chase thought this.
Yeah,
felt
you know,
relatable.
it's okay. I mean, he suffered in prison. He was thrown down into the ground to the ditch. He was sold off to slavery. I mean, he's earned this get back. I think 100%.
Is this like a Count of Monte Cristo type thing?
Yes.
He's like, come see all of the amazing things
That's
that I
it.
have.
And see it again. Oh, by the way, time for you to go to jail.
Right. Your turn.
But it doesn't end in a bad note, right?
No, it doesn't, because when he finally reveals himself to them, you know, what happens?
Well, I mean, they all cry. They're
They
just
all
like,
cry.
oh my
It's a very
God.
You're
emotional
still
family.
alive.
What you meant for evil, God meant for good, is
That's
what he
right.
told them.
He says, don't even feel bad about that. And I do kind of wonder if they were like, well, we didn't feel that bad about it.
We didn't feel that bad.
No, he's like, don't even feel bad about what happened. What's happened has happened. And look at all that God has done
Yeah.
in the meantime.
Yeah.
And
goodness.
and then because of this, because he sees his brothers and they have this reconciliation moment, he gets to see his dad before he dies.
That's
So
so
much
nice.
going on. So much
Yes.
going on this week.
Absolutely.
So that's week 2 wrap up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much.
The drama continues,
De Rama.
but you know, it's good stuff. Any final, like, what's your favorite thing in this section that we read?
I don't know. The whole Isaac wrestling with God. Wait, is it Isaac? Now I have it all of Jacob. Thank you. Good gravy. Wrestling with God story has just always kind of dumbfounded me, and like being able to figure it out and what goes on. And you know, we won't ever figure those things out. But it's just an interesting story. I really like.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's still a story of hope, like from the beginning. Like the narrative of Adam and humankind had the messiness of that, and then Noah, and now we're all of these stories where Israel is starting to like become the thing, and it's like all the messiness is here, but but God's still here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
God's
Yeah.
still here. God's still working.
Absolutely.
For me, I think it's that, but also just the little glimmers of when you kind of start to see the people that God uses figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I keep going back to Jacob being in that part of the land that he was just passing through and saying, "Whoa, the Lord was here, and I didn't realize it."
Mhm.
I think there's been times in my life when I've had that same realization.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I think that's kind of the little glimmers that we see all throughout these stories.
Mhm.
And then we have Jesus, where it's like the Lord was here and we didn't know it.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
awesome. Thanks, y'all. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.